and welcome to another episode of Some of Our Parts, the podcast where two friends talk about the movies that add up to make us who we are. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Jim. Lindsay, what did you pick for us this week?
So I picked a classic literature adaptation, not the first one I've picked, but it's a movie also that recently was re-released in theaters in honor of its 20th anniversary. And I think even though it came out 20 years ago, it's still one that people enjoy and talk about. Like there are moments from it, there are quotes from it that we'll talk about that I think are still very much like in the public consciousness of popular culture. It is 2005's Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, now I to be honest, I had never seen this version of the movie. I'd
Mm.
seen the two previous, the one from 1940, and I think it was in 1995.
Yeah, like the BBC one with
BBC, yeah, which
Colin
was not a
Firth.
movie. I think it was
Yes, it
it
was like a
was a
mini
series.
series, I
Yeah,
think.
so but I'd seen the on Turner Classic Movies, probably the one with Laurence Olivier and Drew
Hmm.
Garson.
Yes.
So I have to say I did enjoy this one more than I did the other two. I really have to. I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, I've never seen the 1941 and I have not seen the full like 1995 one.
Hmm.
Um and then of course there are sort of like offshoots of it. Like Bridget Jones's Diary is to some extent based on this, right? She is sort of the Elizabeth Bennet and Mark Darcy is like her Mr. Darcy.
Oh,
Um
oh, oh.
she's just
I don't think I ever put that together. Okay.
yeah, and like Daniel Cleaver is kind of like Mr. Wickham and yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Gotcha.
it's like very loosely has some of this.
Okay.
But so like that I'm very familiar with. But this this is the only like Pride and Prejudice I've seen like all the way through. But
Oh, okay.
I think it's a solid one. It's a good one. It
Mm-hmm.
actually got me through the book. I had seen this before because it came out in 2005. I was in high school at the time, and I can't for the life of me remember if I saw it in theaters.
Oh, okay. I was just going to ask you, do you remember if you saw it in a movie theater or was it a rental? You think probably a Blockbuster or something after?
I might have seen it in theaters and then like watched it on like HBO or something.
Okay.
Because it came out like Thanksgiving of 2005, so I think I
Oh,
can see that if that I might have seen it.
sort of for the holiday
Maybe with
season,
some
maybe.
friends, yeah. Or
Yeah.
honestly, maybe even my dad. Probably my friends
Oh,
though.
okay.
My dad loves like a romantic comedy drama
Oh,
kind
good
of
for
thing.
him. Yeah. Okay.
So, but yeah, so I had seen it definitely, and then because that was my sophomore year of high school, and then at the end of my junior year, the last book we read in English, we got to pick, and I picked Pride and Prejudice. And I didn't finish reading it during school, although we had to write about it, and I still did write about it, even though I hadn't finished it. Sorry, Mr. A. Uh,
It's all right. So water under the bridge. So,
exactly. I still passed. I graduated
okay.
high school.
There you
But
go.
I was determined to finish the book. So I went that summer for a week to Brown University because for some reason I thought I wanted to go to Brown.
Oh, okay.
And well, I thought I wanted to go to Brown because actually of a character on my favorite TV show wanted to go to Brown. Uh,
Okay.
and then I was looking, it's an Ivy League school, and like it's like a Brown is sort of like the like hippie version of like the Ivy League, and they let you
Okay.
like invent your own major. And I was like, oh, this is great, this is cool. And then I went there for a week to take like a summer class to see. So I finished Pride and Prejudice there.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember when I first watched the movie, but I know I had seen it more than once because if you read the book, and I think that like the story is really good, which
Hmm.
is why the movie is good. I think
Yes.
like the dialogue is good. I
It's
like the
excellent.
characters, but there are trips that like Elizabeth Bennet goes on. Like you see in the
Hmm.
movie, she travels through, and there's a lot more description of like riding in a carriage through the countryside, and I'm like,
Oh, okay.
oh God. I know that she's gonna see Mr. Darcy again, so like I gotta keep reading. Because there are sometimes I was like, Jane, girl.
Well, It,
Derbyshire. I don't need to know about the Derbyshire countryside.
in Jane's defense, it was written in what, 1813, 18.
Yes.
Yeah. So I
So
mean,
what else were people doing?
I think it was around the same time Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, right? So we're,
Yeah.
but, and I can honestly, I never read the book. So,
Hmm.
but I'm just,
Yeah.
I get you, but, yeah, kudos to Jane for, breaking through and, writing and, we're what, 200 years, 200 and some years later, it's
Hmm.
still, still entertaining, still very, poignant.
Absolutely. So,
Have you
yeah,
watched the movie a lot? I mean, since
I've watched
the
it several. This is one that, like, if I catch it on TV or something, I will watch it.
you'll watch it,
I will
okay?
watch
And
it
I could
again.
see that, yeah, because I was going to say I was very much taken with it,
Hmm.
and even my wife, and um, Lindsay and I were discussing a little earlier before we started reporting. When I was watching the movie, my wife, who knew the story naturally, but she'd never seen this one version before either, and she got interested, so she wanted to watch it
Hmm.
along with me. So
Yeah. This is one too that, like, if it's on TV, even if it's like halfway through, I'm like, great, let me watch
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Because it's like, and we've talked a little bit about this, it's like visually very beautiful. I think the dialogue is like snappy. All the performances are good. Star-studded cast, which I know
oh
we say
yeah,
like every time, but like it really is. And a lot of it's these some of these people are like earlier in their career and then went to kind of blow up to bigger things.
hmm,
Some people were like sort of already doing very well, like Keira Knightley,
oh yeah,
Donald
who was,
Sutherland.
yeah,
But, you have
Judy
people,
Dench.
right, but then you have people like Carey Mulligan and Rosamund Pike and Matthew McFadden who were kind of, this is Carey Mulligan's first movie,
Oh,
but
I
the
didn't
other
know
two
that.
were like, kind of smaller, maybe in like
Yeah.
British things or like stage, and then they've gone on to much bigger things too.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think it's really, again, they're all good in this. Even the ones with like small, like Carey Mulligan mostly just like giggles in this movie, but she's still like effective.
Yeah, because the interplay between all the characters and stuff, and yeah,
Hmm.
it's not like she's just a throwaway person.
Yeah.
Everybody plays a pivotal role in the dynamics, I think, anyway, of the family and so on and so forth. And then, but yeah, Kira Knightley was, which I had to look. I couldn't remember if this was at the beginning or around the same time as, the Johnny Depp, the Pirates of the
Pirates of the
Caribbean. Yeah,
Caribbean. Yeah, I think maybe like the first one had come
come
out.
out where I think, and that sort of, well, to me, I think that was the first thing that I ever recall seeing her in,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yes,
she is classically, I would say classically pretty, beautiful in this movie.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are people who don't like her. I think partially it's because of her teeth. And she makes fun also of her, if you watch her on like Graham Norton, of her like mouth acting. She does a lot of like her like lips are doing a lot of
Yeah.
the work. They're doing a lot of the acting work. But I think like I just love this. I think she's so good at this. I think she's such a good Elizabeth Bennet,
Hmm.
that it's just great. But yeah, I checked only the first Pirates of the Caribbean
And
had come out.
well, and of course, I guess you have to give credit to the photographer.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay. Her eyes, I think,
Hmm.
are just luminous, I guess is the way I
Hmm.
would describe it. Her face just sort of lights up, but her eyes really, they talk about the eyes being the window to the soul. It just
Hmm.
really reflects her personality and her, her feelings, I think, very
Hmm.
well in this. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So this movie was directed, it was actually the first feature film directed by Joe Wright, who I think is someone who's also kind of blown up. He directed Atonement, the movie Hannah, which I think that's the one with Saoirse Ronan where she's like a little
oh,
killer.
yeah,
Cyrano, Pan, The Darkest Hour, which is that's the Winston Churchill movie.
that's a great movie.
And he did an adaptation also of Anna Karenina that also starred Keira Knightley as Anna
Oh,
Karenina.
okay.
And it's a very like stylistic adaptation. It's sort of there's moments in that remind me of this, like the scene in this where she's dancing with Darcy and then like the room is empty besides
Mhm.
them. There's a lot
Yeah.
of moments like sort of symbolic-y moments like that in his version of Anna Karenina also.
Oh, okay. Now
Um
is he English? I'm
he
assuming.
is, yes.
Okay. All right.
So I think he does a lot of great work and I think this is like for this being your first feature film you directed, like I mean, especially I imagine there's some pressure on this too, right? Because there's been other versions of this. You're
Yeah.
English and like Jane Austen is like kind of a
It,
big deal.
well,
And
plus when you talk about like there were some young actors, but there's also some very established actors, and this guy's
hmm
like his is his first movie. It's like, it's like Steven Spielberg, when he was doing his first movie and they go, "Who is this kid?" and
hmm
then now he you talk about Donald Sutherland and Judy Dench just the two of them alone, because this movie was made in 2005. Donald had been around for 40 years,
Yeah.
ever since the 60s. So I'm sure, for him to, take the direction and whatever it may be. So it turned out great. So,
hmm Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was written, obviously, it's based on Jane Austen's 1813 novel, Pride and Prejudice. The screenplay was written by Deborah Mogat. Deborah, who's mostly a novelist. She's written a lot of novels, and some were later turned into movies. Like she wrote a novel called Tulip Fever, which she adapted into a film, and she
okay.
wrote the book. I don't remember what the actual book is called, but do you know the movie The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel
Oh,
with
yeah,
Dev
yeah, yeah.
Patel? So
Hmm.
she wrote the book that is based on.
Wasn't Judy
So
Dench in that movie as well?
I think so. Yes, yes,
Yes.
she
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
because they were on Graham Norton together. It's Dev Patel and Judi Dench. But yeah, so she adapted it, and I was reading that initially she sort of adapted it that it was very faithful to the novel, but sort of mostly from Elizabeth's perspective and keeping a lot of the dialogue. But then Joe Wright, the director, was like, maybe we deviate from the text a little more. We get more into like the family dynamics, and they shifted the period a little bit, so it wasn't like they set the film in an earlier period
I was
apparently,
just going to
and
say, did they move back in time?
yeah, and they sort of stepped away. They wanted to depict the sort of more quote unquote like muddy hem version, right? So you see it like right
Oh,
like the pig walking in the house, like that kind of stuff. You can see their poverty, their relative poverty compared to like Darcy and the Bingleys and like all of that. So like they're still doing fine, right? But
well, I
they're
mean, yeah,
not
I mean, because they
fancy.
have they have a housekeeper, I think, but
Yeah, because
or
because Mr. Collins is like, oh, which of my cousins like made this food, and the mom is like, we can afford a cook. Like,
yeah, yeah. Although they didn't have a governess, and that what and
yes,
later on it turned, yeah, and someone is
Judy Dench is
aghast.
scandalized.
Yeah,
But yeah,
you
so
have all these
it's
girls and no governess. Oh my God,
oh my goodness, and they're like, oh, so
how have you
she's like,
survived?
right, so your mom spends all her time teaching you, and she's like, oh no, not our mom.
Not our mom, yeah.
But I did appreciate it because I do think that made it feel very like realistic, and I think that ultimately, and we talked a little bit about this before recording, but like it appeals a little bit to a younger audience while still preserving much of the original story,
Yes,
which I
yeah,
think is like it was something, and we talked about this when we talked about Clueless, but like there was a period of time where I felt like we got so many of these like adaptations of like classic literature in either in modern times like Clueless or like Pride and Prejudice or like Sense and Sensibility, right? There was like the Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet
hmm
and like, lots of
Emma,
movies. Emma, yeah.
Emma,
There was the Emma with Gwyneth Paltrow and then also a more recent version, which
right.
I really 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 like. But like I do think that like people don't like read as much and I do think it would be helped if we could revive this genre of like classic literature adaptations on film because like I got through this book because I had watched this movie.
Well, exactly, and hopefully it would stir the same amount of interest, hopefully in people, that oh man, I really like the movie Clueless. Well, it's based on
Right, Emma.
this.
And it's like all like for me, I know like all of these movies that are Jane Austen adaptations, I really like them. So it's like, okay, then I know that like I can go to Jane Austen novels and read them and enjoy them because I enjoy these characters in the story.
Right, and you get the original source, from
Hmm.
the material, source material, instead of
Yeah.
relying on the movie or the cliff notes, whatever you want to call it.
Yes. Yes.
So
But yeah, it's like I wish that we had more of that because I think that it would like maybe like bring back literacy, bring back reading, you know?
exactly, yeah, uh, I, I, you wonder sometimes, because people, yeah, well, everybody's in such a hurry.
Yeah.
Oh, this movie's 2 hours long. I don't know. Well, dude, wait till you pick up the book.
Right. But also it's like none of the things that we enjoy now like would exist, right? Like just think of there's so many, for example, like romance novels with the trope of like the sort of like grumpy man of this, the enemies to lovers. That's always the trope, right? These two
Yeah,
people that don't like each other and they're always arguing, but secretly underneath it they love each other. Where do you think that came from? This. Or
right.
like in other rom-coms where there's like mistaken identities or people getting confused about who likes who, like that is Shakespeare. That is like read Twelfth Night. That's
Exactly.
Shakespeare. Also, you can watch the movie She's the Man, which is based on Twelfth Night. But like, you know what I mean? Like those
Hmm.
sorts of like tropes and storylines came from these things. So it's like you like them. People laugh at them. That's why they still exist. So like you can go back to like the original where it
Yeah,
came from
right.
and appreciate it in that context.
Yeah, and maybe even hopefully it'll take you down a whole different path of, starting to read, things for the sake of that. And, or gee, I wonder, if this would make a good movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think about that sometimes like when I read books too, like what would this look like visually or like cinematically, you know? And I think that
Hmm.
this movie does a great job of like, like I said, I got bored reading some of the description of the countryside, but like seeing it, like that scene where
Oh,
she's standing on like the cliff
y-
with the wind blowing.
yes, yes. Or even small scenes like one of the scenes where she's sitting in the swing and just twisting
Mm-hmm.
around, and then you see from her viewpoint, and it's maybe some people would sit there and go, What's so great about that?" But if you think about it, it's her perspective of she's just sort of reflecting, and then this is like how she's doing. It's a mindless, maybe sort of uh, thing that she's doing, but it's giving her a focusing her, letting her focus on thinking about what's going on in her life and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was one of the scenes where because they could have just filmed her sitting in a chair, but she
Right.
wasn't. There was some, and it was almost like the juxtaposition between a little girl and a young woman,
Mm-hmm.
sitting in a swing and spinning, which is something a young person would do. But then now she's thinking about love and marriage, and
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
or
No, I
maybe I
think
just read too much
no,
into
I
it.
think so. Like my brother's 18 and he has a swing. There's a swing hooked on a tree that he goes to sit in and like spend time in. So I think it is like so much of this, I think because they focused in this movie on more of the family dynamic, it does become so like relatable. Like obviously there the context, right? Like my mother in the 2000s is not trying to like marry me off to every man to like secure a fortune, but like there is this thing of right you have like a pushy mom and the dad's like whatever man like it like they could be a sitcom couple
Oh
Mr. and
yeah,
Mrs.
yeah.
Bennett, right? Like and then you have like you know the oldest daughter who's kind of like responsible and a little bit shy and reserved and then you have like the second daughter who's kind of outspoken and like doesn't really care. You have the sort of the one that just wants to like sit at home and play piano and then you have the two little ones that are like giggly and
And,
gossipy and boy
yeah,
crazy.
right, and still in that stage of their lives where everything's just sort of magical and stuff, and they're
Mhm.
not jaded by
Yeah. And they don't really take anything seriously, which we see.
right. The biggest thing is, oh, what color ribbon should I pick out, for my
Hmm.
hair, and
Will boys like me?
yeah.
So yeah,
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
um it's a good one. So shall we get into it?
We shall.
Okay. So I think even from the beginning it's a really beautiful shot and sound and it actually does pick up it starts similar to the book. So I'll read the it has this book has a very famous first line. It's not said in the movie or shown, but like I think you get the vibe of it. So,
It was a dark and stormy night. Is that it?
yeah. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a large fortune must be in want of a wife. However little known the feelings or views of such a man may be on his first entering a neighborhood, this truth is so well fixed in the minds of the surrounding families that he is considered the rightful property of some one or other of their daughters. So whoever this man is, he's about to marry one of my daughters
Exactly.
because
So
we
yeah,
know he needs a wife. So,
he's fair
um,
game, right? He's
exactly.
yes.
So I think like from the beginning, it just looks beautiful. We get sort of like the Longbourn is the
Mhm.
name of the everybody's houses had names then. I think we talked about this on another one, but like I want to just give my house a name, no
I agree.
address,
I
just
think
give it
so.
a name.
Yeah, I
You know, they have
agree.
Longbourn and Netherfield and Pemberley,
Hmm.
all of that. So, you know, of course, and then we get a very quick introduction to everybody, and I think it like just in a couple minutes of visuals, you really get a sense of like who they all are, right? So
Exactly.
Elizabeth, Lizzie is walking around reading. Then you see like Jane, you know, being responsible and like Kitty and Lydia like giggling and goofing around and Mary playing piano and then the parents. So Mr. and Mrs. Bennett. Mr. Bennett again is trying to go about his business. And Mrs. Bennett is like, "Did you hear that Netherfield is let at last?" Which I think is almost exactly the line that she says like on the first page of the book.
Oh, is it? Is it?
Yes. My dear Mr. Bennet, said his lady to him one day, have you heard that Netherfield Park is let at last? He replied that he had not.
I like how
And
she calls him Mr. Bennett. He,
yes,
and
he and she's like, "Don't you want to know who took?" Like in the book, it's like, "Don't you want to know?" And he's like, "I know you want to tell me," which is exactly like the vibe in the movie. So she learns one of the people is Mr. Bingley, who is from the north, and he's got money. And she's like, okay, well, you have to like the man has to kind of initiate like a visit. She's like, you got to do that so that he can marry one of the girls.
right.
I don't even remember what he said, but I just wrote, Mr. Bennett is so funny. I think this is when she's talking about, you know, my nerves. And he's like, yes, I've become well acquainted with your nerves. So I guess before we get into more plot, we'll just pause here because, again, the cast is full of people. So Elizabeth
Yes.
Bennet, who's kind of the protagonist, is played by Keira Knightley. I think Pirates of the Caribbean is one of the things she was known for. At this point, she'd also been in Bend It Like Beckham on my list. Love
Oh,
Actually. She was later in Atonement, Anna Karenina, A Dangerous Method. She's been in a bunch of, like a ton of things.
oh yeah.
Um, Mrs. Bennet, the mother, is played by British actress Brenda Blethyn. She's on a detective show called Vera. It's on British television, but she's been in a lot of movies. She was also in Atonement, The Witches, Secrets and Lies, Little Voice, A River Runs Through It. She was also in an episode of Law and Order SVU.
I have we ever had a movie where we haven't had some character that wasn't in SVU, Law and Order SVU?
I
We'll
don't
have to
know.
we should research that.
We need to
So
research that. We'll make a list. We need to make a
yeah,
list of like our most frequent actors because the next one on the list is one of them,
one of
and
them.
Law and Order SVU people. Mr. Bennett is played by Mr. Bennett is played by Donald Sutherland. So he was in MASH and Animal House, which are two movies that we've talked about. He's been in The Hunger Games. He was President Snow. Ordinary People, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Don't Look Now, ton of
Dirty,
stuff.
Dirty Dozen.
Dirty Dozen. And he recently passed away just in 2024. So
Yeah.
the late
So
great Donald Sutherland.
Donald Sutherland, who gave us Kiefer Sutherland in
Yes.
24.
Yes. Jane Bennett, who's the oldest sister, is played by Rosamund Pike. I think people might know her most from Gone Girl at this point. I feel like
Oh,
that's probably
okay.
like her biggest thing. She was also in Saltburn. She's been in a lot of other movies. She was the Bond girl in Die Another Day.
I was getting ready to say she was in one of the Bond movies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was in A United Kingdom, A Private War, The World's End, Jack Reacher. She was in this Netflix movie called I Care a Lot. She's been in a ton of things. Lydia Bennett, who's the youngest sister, is played by Jenna Malone. She's the only American. actor in this movie.
Oh, besides Donald. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes,
Donald's
he's
Canadian.
Canadian technically. So they're the
Canadian.
only
My
two
my
non-Brits.
my mistake. You're right. I
Yes.
forgot.
Although
So
he is a subject of the crown.
yes, yes, true. So
So Jenna Malone, she was also in the Hunger Games movie. She played Joanna.
oh, okay.
She was in Stepmom, Donnie Darko, Saved, more recent movies, Love Lies Bleeding, Neon Demon, lots of stuff. Kitty Bennett, who's the second youngest, she is played by Carey Mulligan in her feature film debut. Carey Mulligan, I think, is a pretty recognizable person at this point.
Oh yeah.
She's been nominated for multiple Oscars. She was in Never Let Me Go, Drive, The Great Gatsby, Maestro, Promising Young Woman, An Education, Suffragette, lots of things. She's married to Marcus Mumford from Mumford and Sons.
Oh, okay. I did
Yeah.
not know that.
They were childhood pen pals and then reconnected as
Really?
adults and got married.
Oh, very
Yeah.
nice.
And then Mary Bennett, who's the middle child, is played by Tallulah Riley, who was also in this was her first movie. She's been in Westworld, Inception, Pistol, The Boat That Rocked. And she was also, for a brief time, married to Elon Musk
Really?
for some reason. Yeah.
Did not know
She's
that.
much younger than him.
I was getting ready to say, wait a minute, isn't there a big age difference? So
Yep. Yep. So yeah, that's the Bennett family. We'll talk
okay.
about the other folks as we meet them. So Mr. Bennett meets Mr. Bingley. He goes off by himself to meet Mr. Bingley and he reports back. Seems like a nice guy. He can marry any of you. Great. He will be at the upcoming ball. So we cut to the upcoming ball, and this is more of like a. We see another ball later. This is like a feels like a country ball, right? This
It
is a
almost
little
feels
more
like a square
country.
dance, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
it's
yeah, like
everything's like wooden.
yeah.
It's like in a barn. Where the Netherfield ball later is like much fancier, and you
Yes.
can tell they're wearing fancier outfits and stuff. I love the dancing at these balls. It's like all this like choreographed dancing. And it's funny because this was sort of like the style before like the Viennese waltz came around, which was like very scandalous because people were you're like touching torsos.
Mm.
So there's a lot of just like touching hands and like walking in circles around each other. So that is sort of square dance like.
It is,
Um,
yeah. That's what it reminded me
but
of.
it's like
So,
very complicated because you have to sort of like switch spots and spin and like they all know it though.
oh yeah. I guess that's something that you learn as a child, or you learn
Yeah.
or you learn to dance and
Hmm.
be be the bon vivant of society.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then everything stops as the Bingleys and Darcy arrive. So we have Mr. Bingley, or Charles Bingley, his sister Caroline, and then Mr. Darcy. It's funny because we see them like from the back at first, and then like all the dancing stops.
right, yeah, it's like this. It's
Yeah.
royalty, or or
Everyone's like, oh, ooh, the fancy
ooh,
people have
ooh,
arrived.
ooh, ooh.
Elizabeth is like, God, that guy in the middle, Darcy, looks like miserable. And her friend Charlotte is like, yeah, but he's rich.
Really rich.
I think she says he owns half of Derbyshire, and she was like, is it the miserable part? And then, of course, like they sort of walk by, and then the dancing resumes, and Mrs. Bennet is like, Mr.
uh,
Bennet, we gotta
uh,
get the girls to meet him.
yep, they're all. She's all verklempt
Yeah, she is in
as
a tizzy.
she. That's a good. That's a even better one. In a tizzy is apt.
So she grabs her three oldest, Mary and Jane and Elizabeth, over, and Mr. Bingley's like really nice, and Mr. Darcy looks like he just smelled poop. Like that's his general expression. I mean, and
Like
to be fair, he might have because
he
this is
might.
very country.
Right. He looks like he'd rather be anywhere else except
Truly.
here. So yeah. But
Yeah.
Mr. Bingley has, by the way, this shocking red hair and a
Yes.
very uh
Sort of like like artfully tousled kind of.
yeah, it's almost like he rode in a convertible to get there at 100 miles an hour. It still looks like it should be where it is, but it's just a little bit windblown. And
Yeah.
he has this he always looks happy.
Yeah, he has kind of like almost like a goofy smile. He's just like,
Yeah, yeah,
"Oh, hey," like a puppy. Like that's his
yeah,
like energy.
perfect Perfect description. Yeah. You sit
Yeah.
there and you think, boy, it's a good thing you got money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyways, Mr. Bingley and Jane, there's some sparks
Mm.
flying from the
Yes.
beginning. They're, and
Yep.
they go dance together. Kitty and Lydia, being the gossip correspondents of the family, come tell their mom that a regiment of officers will soon be stationed in town. And they're all like, ooh. And then Elizabeth tries to talk to Mr. Darcy, and he's like standoffish and like cold.
It's like one word responses, like,
Yeah.
nope, yes, maybe, possibly.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, okay.
He's very dismissive.
Yeah. And she tries to like get him to dance, and he's like, oh, like, no.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah. And then, oh, go ahead. Were you gonna say
I was
something?
going to say, can you mention his sister or Mr. Bingley's sister? Because I recognized her on, not because I was a fan of the show, but she's played by an actor who
Yes.
people will know, I'm sure, if they follow Yellowstone.
Yes. So, Caroline Bingley is played by Kelly Riley, who currently or most recently has been on Yellowstone. She's also been on True Detective. She was in the movie Flight with Denzel Washington.
Oh yeah.
She's like the girl that he meets at like the hospital or whatever and
Yeah,
takes her to his
uh-huh.
house. She's Watson's wife in the Sherlock Holmes movies
Movies.
with Jude Law and Robert Downey Jr. So she's in a lot of stuff too. Mr. Bingley is played by Simon Woods, who hasn't been in as much stuff. I think his other biggest role was the TV show Rome. He played Octavius
Oh, okay.
in Rome. And then Mr. Darcy is played by Matthew McFadden. Most recently, he was in Deadpool and Wolverine. He was the villain there. I know and love him as Tom Wamsgans from Succession.
Okay.
He was also in Anna Karenina, Death at a Funeral, Frost Nixon, a lot
Oh,
of
really? He was
other
in Frost
movies.
Nixon?
Yeah, probably. I imagine not like a huge role. He at this point that this movie came out, he was on the a British spy drama called Spooks, which was kind of his only big thing.
Oh,
He's
okay.
also married to another British actor, Keely Hawes, who do you remember the show Bodyguard?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So she's the lady, the home
Oh,
secretary. That
oh,
woman, that
oh,
actress,
oh,
Keely
oh,
Hawes,
okay.
is his wife in real
Oh,
life.
okay. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
So yeah, it's after they take a break from dancing, Lizzie and Charlotte are kind of like they're hiding under like what looks like bleachers almost.
I know. I was trying to
I was
figure
like, there are
it.
bleachers here. I mean, I guess there are benches. And they walk by and hear Mr. Darcy and Mr. Bingley talking about them, and they're basically like, "Oh, like Jane's so pretty." And Mr. Bingley's like, "Her sister Lizzie is pretty too." And Darcy's like, "She's not handsome enough to tempt me." And Lizzie's like, "Wow. Wow. Okay, rude." And then, Mrs. Bennet is like really laying it on thick, trying to suck up to Mr. Bingley.
Oh.
She also is like very rude about Charlotte. She's like, oh, Charlotte's like not that cute. It's like, oh my God. And Lizzie's like, oh my God, she's my friend. And she's like, well, Lizzie, you know she's not that cute.
Yeah. So, but I guess in the marketplace you gotta push the
She's
product.
gotta,
Yeah,
she's gotta like hype up her girls.
that's right. Yeah. So
And then, again, I think some of these things feel so realistic. Like they go home and like Elizabeth and Jane are kind of all, maybe I guess they share a room and they're like up late, like talking about Mr. Bingley and like talking about boys. And Jane gets a letter that she's invited to go to Netherfield for a meal, but not with Mr. Bingley, with Caroline. Mr. Bingley's gonna be gone.
right.
And then their mom is like, oh. And she's like, can I take the carriage? It's really far. And the mom's like, well, not if you're not meeting with Mr. Bingley, then no. So she walks all the way to Netherfield. And then she gets sick, so she has to stay there. But the mom is like, yes.
Well, yeah, she said, "Oh, that's what she wanted because she thought if she got there late and she wasn't in a carriage, oh, she'd have to stay overnight. And it's even
Mm-hmm.
better that she got sick because now she has to stay there until she gets better.
Right.
So I mean, it was almost like she planned it because didn't Lizzie say something about, well, Mom, I don't, or Mother, I don't think that you could predict it would rain, but she, or something like to that effect. But she
Mm-hmm.
said, but one could always hope,
Yeah.
it's like,
So Lizzie goes to visit her and check on her. And again, she walks, but the weather's good, so she's fine. And she gets in there, and Caroline Bingley is so snooty. It's just Caroline and Mr. Darcy at the moment when she walks in, and Caroline's like, "Did you walk here?" She's like,
Yeah,
"Yeah,
because she looks at her. I mean, she does look like she's been out for a while. Like
she does. She's a little windswept."
yeah, yeah. So, but just a
Did you walk here? Yes, I did.
yeah. Like as a matter of fact, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I do
So
like Lizzie's attitude is always like, "And what about it?"
yeah. So yeah.
I sure did. And
And yeah, and I got here.
um
Here I am.
and you can see, but you get a little, we get some like moments, right? Like as soon as she walks in, Darcy like jumps up because
Oh,
you
I
stand when
know.
a lady enters the room, but he's like shoots out of his seat.
Yes. Um,
He's still a little rude though.
yeah, yeah. But you're right though. We sort of get a little glimpse of maybe something not softening, but yeah, something going on here. Like
There's a little something.
a little something.
And but it's very cute though, because she goes to see her sister, and then Mr. Bingley comes in, and he's like kind of awkward because he's like, "Oh, it's so good to have you here. I mean, it's not good for you to be sick though, but like it's really good that you're here. I'm really happy that you're here."
But I'm not happy that you're sick. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
like, he doesn't know
it's
what
like
to
we get
say.
it, we get it. The soldiers start arriving in town. Mrs. Bennet and Kitty and Lydia are pumped. They're there trying to like throw their handkerchiefs, and no one picks up Lydia's
Oh,
handkerchief,
I
and she's
know
pissed. She's like, "Oh, oh,
I know. I guess it was a big deal, for the soldiers to come into town, so
yeah."
yeah. So
I
that I
guess
guess
it's
they could
like, here's a man with a job.
he gets a steady paycheck.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of talk, and I guess maybe it was true at the time. Is like how much money they have or how much they get per year. Oh
Mm-hmm.
well, at 500 pounds a
5,000 a
year,
year.
yeah, 5,000 a year or whatever it brings
Mm-hmm.
in. It's like whatever.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Lizzie, I guess she also then just stays at Netherfield, or she's like going back and forth. Because
I
she's,
couldn't figure that out either. Well,
yeah.
maybe it is more than like a day, a half a day's hike or something to get
Yeah.
there.
And I mean, it's a
So
big house. They got a lot of rooms.
exactly. So
So she's there, and she's sort of like verbally sparring with Caroline and Mr. Darcy a little bit. Like there's a part where she makes Caroline has her like walk around the room with
walk
her.
around the room.
And
Yeah.
then she's like, "Join us, Mr. Darcy." And he's like, "Oh, I can't. I know you have your reasons for doing it." And she's like, "What could those reasons be?" And Lizzie's like, "I think it would bother him more if we just don't ask him." Um,
Wait,
and
he's writing a letter or something,
he's
isn't he?
writing
This
to his sister,
sister,
and
that's what it
Caroline's
was.
like, "Tell your sister about me." And he's like, "I'll have to save that for the next letter. I don't have any more room," basically.
Yeah. And did you get the feeling that Caroline is got her eyes set on Mr. Darcy?
Certainly. It does seem like she thinks it is like inevitable since like he's
Right.
best friends with her brother that
A-
like
And they're in the
they're gonna
same
get.
class,
Yes.
yeah,
It does seem to think that like she thinks like, well,
yeah.
obviously this is what's gonna happen. And he like is not interested. I mean, the good thing is he's not just cold towards Lizzie. He's
Oh
cold
yeah,
to like everyone.
everyone, yeah. So
He even seems cold when he's talking to Mr. Bingley, who's like presumably his best friend.
yeah, he sort of treats him like the slower, listen, I'll explain this to you, but
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, but I got the feeling that yes, Caroline sort of had her eye on
Mm-hmm.
Mr.
Yes.
Darcy. So
Of course, Mrs. Bennet and the rest of the girls come to visit, just being a mess. Well, they're also coming like with their carriage to like pick up, finally leave with Jane, and but
yeah,
they're
Jane's well enough to go home,
yeah,
right? So
they're embarrassing, and she's like, you have to, Mr. Bingley, like we want you to stay around, and he's like, oh, of course I want to stay around here, and Kitty and Lydia basically are like, well, you have to have a ball, and he's like, okay,
okay.
I guess we'll have a ball, and I do love that Mary's like, I think instead of dancing, we should just have a conversation. And Caroline is like, well, then it wouldn't be a ball, would it?
But Mary had a point though. It would be in
She
order to
did.
get to know people better, wouldn't it be
Yes.
better to have conversation as opposed
Yes.
to
And I do.
dancing?
Lizzie does. Lizzie is like, thank you, Mary.
Yes, she does. Yeah, she stands up
Yes.
for her sister.
Yes. And then a moment happens that has become, since this movie came out, like an iconic moment. Like this is a moment that's like in GIFs, it's like memes, it's a thing that people replay. They're all leaving. Lizzie is the last one to get in the carriage. She says goodbye to Mr. Bingley, goodbye to Mr. Darcy, and then he suddenly puts out his hand to help her into the carriage. And you can see she's kind of like, oh,
Uh-huh.
she like turns to look. And then as he's walking away, and this is like the iconic shot, he like flexes his hand, like twitches it. Like there's a little bit of like electricity in that hand now or something.
Yeah.
So this is like our first little clue. It's something.
Something. A
As they
spark.
say in the in Beauty and the Beast, there may be something there that wasn't there before.
Very good. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Um,
And then, but yeah, that moment, the hand flex has become like such like a
oh, I
thing.
didn't know that. Okay. All right.
Yeah, if you're like ever on the internet, people are like, people talk about that a lot.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like I'm sure during the re-release when it was just in theaters again, when that happened, people like applauded or like screamed. Like like there was a reaction to that. I'm sure. Uh, and then time for another visitor. Mr. Bennet's cousin, Mr. Collins, who's a little country clergyman who's living in Kent now. Mr. Collins is played by Tom Hollander, who's I think another actor that you've seen around. He he was also in Pirates of the Caribbean. He was in Bohemian Rhapsody, The Night Manager, which is a show Jim and I both enjoyed.
Oh gosh.
He was
Yeah.
on season 2 of The White Lotus. He played Truman Capote in the recent FX series Feud Capote versus the Swans.
Oh, oh, really?
Um,
Is that what he
mhm,
he was in? I did not know that.
mhm.
I didn't know he was played Truman
Yeah,
Capote.
he was Truman. He did a good job, I think.
That's what everybody
Um,
said. I remember that. I forgot it was him though that did that.
yeah, yeah, he has small parts and lots of. He was in About Time, which is another movie I really enjoy. A nice like little British rom-com. He's a sort of minor character in that movie. But yeah, Tom Hollander, you've seen him around. He's Mr. Collins, and he's like, first of all, the haircut. It's like a little bit of like a mullet, but like very with like very like short bangs in the front.
It's almost like a combination of Mo Howard from the Three Stooges with the except the short bangs, and then yeah, he's
Hmm.
got like the longer thing in the back, and it's like,
Hmm.
and I had no idea he was. Maybe I did, and I forgot that he was so short. So
Yes, and we see that at the when they go to another dance. But he says they're eating dinner, and he goes, "What a superbly featured room, and what excellent boiled potatoes! Many years since I've had such an exemplary vegetable. Which of my cousins can I thank for making it?" And this is where Mrs. Bennet is like, "We can't afford a cook."
yes,
But he is very awkward and weird. He's like bragging. His like patroness is this lady Catherine de Bourgh, and he's like, she's great. And like they do not care. They're all holding back laughter, like kicking each other under the table. It's very like real family stuff.
right,
The girls are like basically after the meal, the deal is he's the next like man in line in the Bennett in the family.
and
So he's
will
going to
inherit.
inherit this
Yeah,
house. So he wants to marry one of the girls, so it will stay in the family.
right.
He wants Jane, but the mom is like, she's actually about to be engaged, just so you know. So
Yeah, yeah.
what about?
Because she wants Mr. Bingley,
Yeah.
and for yeah, she's got that fish on that hook.
Oh yes. So she's like, how about Lizzie? And he's
Yeah.
like, she would be a very agreeable alternative.
Wouldn't it be nice
Meanwhile,
to be talked about like that?
right?
Yeah. So, yeah,
Okay, my
yeah.
second choice, sure.
What about Lindsay? Oh, well, I guess so. If that's if
Right. It's
yeah,
like, we don't have Coke, but is Pepsi okay?
yeah.
Like,
So, well, it's not
sure.
really Pepsi. It's sort of like
Hmm.
Pepsi. So,
Yeah. So, but meanwhile, as we discussed, the soldiers are in town, and as they're out and about, the girls meet a dashing young soldier named Mr. Wickham, he has a good banter with Lizzie. He's nice to the little sisters, like buys
oh,
them a ribbon, and all this
Oh,
stuff. So they're kind of
plays the magic trick with the coin,
coin behind
produce
the ear.
ear. Yeah, he's good
He's
looking
very
guy.
smooth,
He's
charming.
smooth. He's suave.
Yeah.
So,
So he's they're sort of walking back and they come upon Mr. Darcy and Mr. Bingley on their horses. And you can see immediately Darcy and Wickham, there's a history there.
if looks could kill,
They're on fire. Mr. Wickham
yes.
would burst into flames. And like, listen, you think Darcy looks at everybody kind of like with a pissed off look? This is like
Oh,
another. He hates this man.
oh yeah, this is a whole nother level
Yeah.
of disdain.
Yes. And Lizzie clocks it. So
She
when
gets
they
it.
leave, she's like, you know, Mr. Wickham, you know him?
Yeah.
And so basically, he has known Darcy's family since he was like a baby. His dad was the manager of their estate. And he grew up really close to Mr. Darcy's father. Like, so he and Darcy grew up basically together, like brothers almost. And Darcy's father was also really close to Wickham. And when he was dying, he was supposed to give him an inheritance of like the little rectory or whatever
Yeah, some sort of building or
on the
something, right?
property.
On the
And then Mr.
Oh, because he
Darcy,
wanted to go into ministry.
because he was going to go in the ministry, yeah.
Yeah.
Just the same as like how Mr. Collins has his little house on the Lady Catherine's property.
A state, yeah, where he's going to
Yes.
be the town preacher, I guess, or
And
whatever.
he's well, we'll talk about that later. His skills. But yeah, so Mr. Wickham says that Darcy actually like took like wouldn't let him have it. Like he was supposed to inherit something, and Mr. Darcy
Yeah,
was like, "Nope." Because he was jealous of how much his dad loved Mr. Wickham. And Lizzie
yeah,
is like, "Oh my God, like he's a bigger jerk than I thought,"
right.
basically.
What a complete asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, cut to the Netherfield Ball, and she's hoping that she'll see Mr. Wickham there. Ultimately, Mr. Wickham does not go. The Netherfield Ball, you can see this is like a step up from
Oh yeah,
the country ball.
oh
Everyone is
yeah.
looking very fancy. I will say I loved Lizzie's hair with the little pearls in it.
Pearls in it. I know.
So cute. So cute.
I don't know. Did I just give the wrong impression to all of our listeners? I'm not a hairdresser, but I did like the way her
It
hair
looked
was
really
done.
nice.
It
Like I
did,
would like
yeah.
if I were ever to like get married, I would like bring a picture of that to like the person doing my hair and be like, "Can you do this? I don't know how you do it, but can you do this?"
Yeah.
I also love she's like when she gets there and she's walking around, Mr. Darcy is like her shadow. He's just lurking, like
Yeah.
following her.
But it's so obvious she's looking for Wickham, and then she even asks about, has
Hmm.
anyone seen Mr. Wickham? It's like,
Hmm.
and then
Yeah.
is it Charlotte that tells her, oh, I think he had to do something or had to go into town or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. But then eventually they're like, well, he might not have had business in town if a certain Mr. Somebody wasn't going to be here.
Right,
Is kind of the
exactly.
thing. So
Yeah.
then Mr. Collins wants to wants to dance with Lizzie, and she's like, "Oh,
Oh,
okay, sure." And oh no, it's Jane who tells her because she tells her during the dance.
yeah, yeah.
Because it's a comical little scene because they're doing all these turns and Mr. Collins keeps trying to talk to Lizzie, but like the dance is such that they'll like come together and then come apart. So he's like, "Hey, what's going on anyways, blah blah blah. Hey, so what I want to tell you is this," like it just like kind of keeps it cutting off.
It's
But then
very
like
funny.
when she passes by Jane's like, "So Mr. Wickham had business in town." And part of it is he just didn't want to see Mr. Darcy. So it's such a like comical little scene. Um and then who should ask her to dance but Mr. Darcy?
Yes.
And he's still like kind of being rude while they're dancing. And they're both sort of arguing about Wickham without really like saying it. And you
Right.
can tell Mr. Darcy's like, "Oh, you think Mr. Wickham's so charming, don't you?" And she's like, "As a matter of fact, he is. He's more charming than you." And there's a really lovely shot. It's obviously it's not a literal thing. It's a symbolic sort of shot where like they're dancing and talking to each other and the rest of the room is empty.
Yeah.
It's just the two of them,
Uh-huh.
which is like, in case you haven't picked it up yet, what this movie's about.
Yeah.
But
In case none of you
it's
ever read the book in English class, I'm just saying.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So,
But it's a very cool. I think it's like a cool shot that just when it's like just the two of them, because ultimately, like even though it is like a tense energy, like they are paying like complete attention just to each other and
Right.
ignoring everyone else in the room.
Everything else vanishes. So yeah. So and Lindsay and I spoke about this earlier, and we'll probably do it again. Again, the movie is visually stunning.
Gorgeous.
It is.
Beautiful.
It,
Just beautiful.
I'm so sorry I didn't get a chance to see it on the big screen during the re-release. I
I
really
know.
am, because that would have been
Maybe in
fantastic.
25 more years we'll go.
Maybe if I get my nurse to take me from the nursing home, I'll ask you to come pick me up.
Yeah,
So,
perfect.
okay.
Meanwhile, the Bennett family is so embarrassing. You got Mr. Collins like, "Oh, Mr. Dawes, like, can I talk to you?" and just like following him like a child. And mind
Oh,
you, again, like we
and
see
he's
at
trying
this
to get his
ball,
attention. Yeah, and he's
he's so awkward because he's very short. He's shorter than Keira Knightley.
like,
And Matthew McFadden is tall. Like he's a large man. And Tom Hollander is a small man. So it's like a child like tugging on the jacket of an adult to get their attention.
that's what
It's
it reminded me of. It's like,
Mister.
Mister. Yeah.
It's so embarrassing. Then you've got like Mary is in a room, found the piano, and is just like belting and playing, belting badly.
Yeah, she's not very good. So,
No. And then the mom is talking all about her plans for like Jane's wedding, basically. The woman has not been proposed to.
hey, I was getting ready to say we're jumping the gun a little here, but
Right. Kitty
hey,
and
but
Lydia are drunk and giggling all over the place.
which I gotta, how old are they supposed to be?
Well,
And
the
they're,
little one is 15 because they say that later.
oh, okay. So okay, because I thought she was supposed to be younger than that, but I was sitting there thinking, wait a
No.
minute, how is she drunk? It's like,
Right.
but I guess
Mhm.
they, what else was there to drink but wine, right?
That's true. That's true.
Because the water sucked, I'm sure,
Yeah. Yeah,
and they didn't
that's
have
true.
Kool-Aid, so
No Capri Suns.
no,
Um,
no. Anyway, so sorry.
Charlotte and no, you're good. Charlotte and Lizzie are talking, and Charlotte's like, I know Bingley likes Jane, but like, does he know that Jane likes him? And Lizzie's like, oh my God, yeah, like obviously she likes him. She's just shy. And like Charlotte's like, I think she needs to like be a little more obvious. Charlotte, I will say, she knows what's up.
Oh yeah, she's got it figured out. Charlotte may not be Jane and Lizzie,
Hmm.
but she's got it upstairs too, though. Uh,
Right.
she's smart. She knows what's what.
And then ultimately it ends at like the crack of dawn. The
I
Bennets are rolling home looking worse for the wear at like daybreak.
Daybreak. So,
And as they're rolling away, Caroline says to her brother, like, she's like, "Are you serious?
oh, I know. It's like, really?
Really, Charles?"
Yes, yes. Like he's the biggest idiot. Or he just announced the world's stupidest statement in the world. So
Hmm. And it's funny too because they get home and they're having breakfast and they all look so hungover.
no. Even Mr. Bennett looks a little worse for wear. So,
Right. Mrs. Bennet is rough.
oh yeah.
She's struggling.
And
And then,
I like the way they eat though. I mean, they're forking in the food now. Like when the
hmm,
food comes out, there's no sitting around waiting. It's like Lizzie stabs a roll or something or whatever it comes out of there. I don't know if it's a scone or something, but they bring
yeah.
out some sort of bread and Lizzie's on it. She wants something to
They need to
eat.
carb up. They gotta soak, they got some stuff to soak up.
Exactly. So,
And then Mr. Collins wants to talk to Lizzie alone, and Lizzie is like, "Do not leave me here with this
oh
man."
God.
But everyone leaves. She's like, "No, Jane, Jane, don't leave."
Well, I like how he goes, I'd like to speak to Miss Bennett alone. And even my wife said, there's like five of them.
Right?
How do we know which one he wants to talk to? So, because he doesn't
Uh,
say Miss Elizabeth Bennett, he just says Miss
yes.
Bennett. So, but
But like
anyway,
mom knows, and she's
oh
like, "Get
yeah,
out. Everybody
get
get
out.
out." And
Yeah,
Lizzie's
yeah.
like, "No,
No,
please."
I know she tries to grab onto Mary or
She
somebody.
she is
Yeah.
like Jane, and she's like, Jane, please."
Don't leave me. Don't leave me.
And then he starts talking, and it's like he's delivering a lecture. And he's like, "So when we get married?" And she's like, I didn't say anything yet." And
Right.
he's like, "Well, I know you have to sort of like playfully demur." And she's like, "No. no, 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 no. I'm telling you no. And he's like, I know you have to sort of like hide your affection. And she's like, I'm not playing games with you. I am telling you no. I do not want to marry you. I think she said, I think I'm probably one of the last women on in the world that you should want to marry.
Yeah, she even said, yeah, I am not the woman you want to marry, yeah, or
Yeah.
something to that effect. So,
And she opens the door, and of course, everybody is there listening. All the girls are listening. The gigglers are giggling. Mrs. Bennett is pissed.
oh, so mad.
Lizzie takes off running, and Mrs. Bennett goes to Mr. Bennett, like, Mr. Bennett, you need to make your daughter say yes. And he goes out there. The parents go out there where Lizzie is outside. And this is a classic, like, Mr. Bennett moment. So good. Donald Sutherland, so good. He's basically like, well, you're gonna lose a parent one way or another. Because if you don't say yes, your mom will never talk to you again. And if you do say yes, I will never talk to you again. And she's like, thank you, Dad. And the mom is again so pissed.
Now, yeah, now Mr. Bennett. So,
Yeah. She's like, oh, why would you do that? These ungrateful daughters, blah, 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 blah. And then Jane gets a letter that the Bingleys have decided abruptly to go back to London,
yeah,
which is
just
like a big bummer.
really, yeah, it's
When
like,
things were going well.
and wasn't the letter written by Carolyn?
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't even written by Mr. Bingley. It
Yeah.
was, yeah, yeah,
And like it even oh, and then because Lizzie and Jane are talking about it, and Lizzie's like, the sister can tell that he loves you, and she's trying to like keep him away from you. And Jane's like, no, she's so nice. He probably just doesn't love me. And Lizzie is like, what is wrong with you?
I know.
Are
It's
you
like,
crazy?
yeah, you're supposed to be the older, smarter one, and
Right.
yeah,
Right. Also, pause. Can I just say the fact that the oldest sister, who everyone says is the prettiest, Jane Austen named after herself.
just
She's like,
saying.
well, and
Hey, literary license, right? So,
exactly, I wrote it.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so Lizzie is like, Jane, our aunt and uncle live in London. Why don't you go there, get yourself seen by him, and
And
then like rekindle,
yeah,
he'll come to you, which
right,
is very funny because again this is like obviously like the actual actions are different, but this is like very modern, right? It's like your friend seems to get dumped and it's like post some pictures on Instagram where you look really good so he'll see you and then he will come crawling back to you. It's like the Regency era version of that, right? Go to London in a nice dress and like walk down the street and he'll
right.
see you and come
It,
to you.
exactly, because he'll. Oh, did you see that Miss Jane Bennett is in town? Or is
And
in
then it's like,
London?
oh,
Oh, I
you need to go
remember.
talk to
Yeah,
her.
yeah. Jane looking good.
Um, I don't remember what the next thing is that happens, but I just wrote in my notes, I love Donald Sutherland as Mr. Bennett. I'm sure he said something else funny. He just has such like he's very, like you said, very understated, but he says just gems, just dropping gems.
Oh yeah. He doesn't have a lot of dialogue. A lot of his stuff is visual, it's facial, but
Hmm.
when he does, and it's not just the lines, it's how he delivers them.
Hmm.
He's very low key, but it's you
Yeah.
I always got the feeling at the beginning that he might be henpecked or might be, but he's not.
Hmm.
He's got everything under control. It
Yeah.
just seems like it's not.
And he like even if he like rolls his eyes at his wife, he like has great affection
Oh
for her
yeah,
and all these
yeah,
people.
yeah,
He seems like the kind of dad who would be like very quiet, but like if you sit next to him, he's like quietly saying like the funniest stuff ever.
right.
Because like some of the lines it's like he's sort of mumbling to himself almost, but it's
Hmm.
like so funny.
Or that he'd be just the kind of dad that would put his arm around you, and just like
Hmm.
if you just needed comforting or just needed just he would be just not have to talk a lot or say a lot
Yeah.
of things.
Or like
Just
one of the ones who like wouldn't say anything, but he would just like look at you and wink,
yeah,
you know?
exactly, yeah,
Whereas like, Lizzie gets into a tiff with her mom and she looks at him and he's just like,
yeah,
you know. So, anyways, Lizzie is like having a little emo moment on her swing, like you talked about. This is the scene where she's spinning on the swing, and then all of a sudden, in her view is Charlotte, her friend Charlotte Lucas, and Charlotte. is going to marry Mr. Collins. He kept wandering around looking for a wife, I guess. And she's like, well, here I am. And Lizzie is like, ew,
Yeah.
what? This is another quote that has become viral, partially because sometimes people I've seen online, people put this like a meme on their birthday cakes when they turn 27. Because the next line she says is, I'm 27 years old. I have no money and no prospects. I'm already a burden to my parents and I'm frightened.
Oh
So don't,
gosh,
she
really?
basically saying, so don't judge me, Lizzie. But like
Yeah.
as a joke, ironically. But people are like, it's a funny meme. Like, for example, that would be a funny meme if people are like, me whenever I open up a dating app. That's how you
Hmm.
feel. I'm
That's how you
27
feel.
years old. I have no money and no prospects. I'm scared.
Yeah.
So she's
But
basically saying,
don't judge me. Yeah.
right, she's like, I don't have any options. So please don't
Yeah.
judge me. And then so she goes with Mr. Collins to Kent, to Lady Catherine de Bourgh's estate, which is in Kent. But she writes to Lizzie and she's like, come visit.
Yeah.
And she
It's
does. And they get to go to, so they live in like the little house on the property, right? And but the Lady Catherine invites them to dinner. And again, Mr. Collins is like, it's such a great honor. And Lizzie is like, who is this woman? Like, I
yeah,
don't care.
right.
And they're like, oh my goodness, it's okay that you only have shitty clothes, you poor, but just wear the nicest thing you have.
Oh, yeah, and yeah, and Collins goes like, "Oh, she's not one to judge you by what you wear," which,
Yeah.
yeah,
She's rude. Lady Catherine is rude. Lady Catherine, I will also say, played by the Dame Judi Dench.
correct.
A million things we could list that she's in. I think some of the big ones of late, until Skyfall, I think was the last one. She was M in several of the James Bond movies, like the first few Daniel Craig ones. Was she in the Pierce Brosnan ones? No.
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
yes, yeah, she was. Yeah, she's yeah.
So she was in the last, like, in several James Bond movies. Um, she played the Queen in Shakespeare in Love. She's in Notes on a Scandal, another movie on my list. Uh, Also, most recently, she was in Philomena, Belfast. She's not actually acting as much anymore because she's like kind of lost her eyesight. Like
Eyesight. I was going to
her
say
eyesight
that.
is
I think
going.
that's the reason she gave up the role of M in the James Bond movies. So,
Yeah, which is really sad because she's great.
oh,
Also, I would highly recommend just look up her appearances on Graham Norton because she's hilarious. She's so funny and
and
also incredibly talented. Like she's talking about, I think she did like a TV series there, like about Shakespeare and like how important Shakespeare is. And then she just starts like reciting Shakespeare like
reciting
off the
Shakespeare.
dome. Yeah. There's also a line, I always remember this. She says she's never been to a nightclub. And Graham Norton says,
I saw
Dame
that.
Judy, you lie like a rug. And she's like, what? And he's like, I saw you at heaven. And she's like, oh, you're right. There's also a
Exactly.
really good, I think it was a British TV show. I've only watched clips of it, but it's like called like The Dames, and it's like Judi Dench and Maggie Smith and a couple of other,
Ooh, I bet
and
that's
they're all
good.
just talking about how Judi Dench gets all the big roles.
Really?
Like Maggie Smith is like, my agent will call me and offer me an American role, and I'm like, oh, did Judi Dench say no? And Judi Dench is like, stop being mean, and they're like, it's just the truth, Judy. But anyways, Judi Dench, icon,
Yes.
amazing actor. So she's Lady Catherine de Bourgh, and in this movie, she is just straight up a bitch.
And she's also very scary looking, isn't she? Or she
she
was to me. That wig and her
she has this giant
skin.
wig, and like, yeah, she doesn't look like well. And like obviously Judi Dench is like, she's not a young person, but like she doesn't look, they make her like, it feels like they made her look like less well.
I know it's almost like her skin's so kind of weathered and wrinkly, and
Yeah.
like she looks older than what she, like I said, I don't know how what she, yeah, she's up there, but I mean, she doesn't look that wrinkly or that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
that damn wig though was
she,
Jesus. It must
that
have
probably
weighed a
hurt her neck.
ton.
It's a
Yeah.
workout. And then surprise, surprise, surprise. Mr.
Lizzie.
Darcy is there. And she's like,
Yeah.
Lizzie's like, why are you here? So Lady Catherine's his aunt. And then he's there with his, I think his cousin, Colonel Fitzwilliam. And then also Lady Catherine has a daughter. I don't remember her name, but she's like sickly. which I guess is indicated because she has little glasses on.
I was getting ready, she's wearing like, yeah, like little pince nez glasses, and it's like
Mhm.
she looks mousy, you
She's
know.
like hunched over and like not looking at anyone.
Yeah, at anyone. So
So yeah, she's like, "Oh, Mr. Darcy, have you seen Jane in London?" And he's like, "No, I haven't."
yeah, nope.
She's like, "Oh, okay, interesting." So they have dinner, and Lady Catherine is she's just like roasting Lizzie the whole time. She's like, "Oh,"
What?
because Lizzie's talking about her family, and she's like, "What?"
Yeah. What at the very beginning, it's like, remember she moves Collins. She says,
Mm-hmm.
"Don't
You
you can't
can't
sit
sit
next
next
to
to
your
your
wife.
wife.
Move over
Move.
here." Yeah, and so Lizzie has to sit next to Mr. Darcy. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's
And
just like she just orders everybody around,
yeah, and
bosses.
she's just like, "Oh, so your family had a governess?" And she's like, "No." And she's like, "Well, did your mom like teach you stuff?" And she's like, "No."
Yeah, not my
Oh,
mother.
because she's like, "Can you draw?" Not
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
Can you
Can
play
you?
piano? No.
Not
Can
very
your sisters
well.
draw? No. Then like, what do you all do? Like,
Yeah, it's like, what can you do?
right. And then she makes after dinner, she makes Lizzie play the piano, and Lizzie's like, "I told you I was not good at the piano." She's like, "I'm not being like modest. I am not good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's gonna sound bad." And she's like, "Well, I want to hear it, so play." So she's playing, and then they like talk over it. And then Lizzie talks to Colonel Fitzwilliam and Mr. Darcy, and she's telling Fitzwilliam, she's like, "You know, your cousin over here, he came to a dance and he didn't dance with anybody." And Mr. Darcy's like, "Listen, I'm just not good at talking to people I don't know."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Well, your aunt told me to practice piano, so maybe you should practice that."
Word.
Hmm. Yeah. And then I love this scene. He's so awkward when Lizzie's back in like Collins's little house and Mr. Darcy like busts in. Like he like it's like he like kicked the door down and like stumbles in. And then he's just standing there and she's like, are you
Yeah.
like Mr. Collins isn't here? Like, do you need something? And he's kind of just like, no, everything's okay. And he like runs away.
Oh, it's like he's like a 12-year-old kid, It's like,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And I will say, I don't remember if I said this while we were recording, but part of the reason that they went for like a general younger vibe in this, Joe Wright was like, it's weird to see a man who's like in his 40s, like not knowing how to handle his emotions, right? You can accept that from like a younger man, but
Right.
like seeing someone who's like a full grown adult being like, it's like,
Yeah.
really, really. So I think that's why he like skewed it younger because it's like, okay, if you're like in your like early 20s, maybe like this navigating these feelings is hard. If you're
Right.
like 40, like, get it together a little bit.
Yeah.
If
If
you're
you
40
haven't
at
by
this
now,
time
you're never
period,
going to get
you're
it together.
right.
Oh,
And if
oh,
you're 40 in this time period, you're dying tomorrow,
well,
practically.
and you probably have a grandkid.
Exactly.
Just saying, you know, if all things worked out well,
Right. You should have been married.
yeah,
That's
baby.
probably Donald Sutherland's probably supposed to be 40 in this movie.
Probably.
White hair.
And it's got 5 daughters.
Yes.
Yeah, Mrs. Bennett's probably 35. So,
Right.
so
35 looking 60.
60, yeah. So,
So they go to church and Mr. Collins is giving his sermon and it is so boring.
oh God, is this painful or what?
It's so bad.
Even the parishioners, the
I
people
know.
that, are like,
I just
oh,
yawned just thinking about it.
I know, yeah. So, yeah, every one of them sit there and they look like they'd rather have their is wisdom teeth extracted.
Exactly. So, because that's boring, Lizzie's talking to Fitzwilliam and she's like, he tells her she's talking about how like Mr. Darcy's like like kind of mean. And
Yeah, rude and
Fitzwilliam is like, no, he's actually like a really good guy. And she's like, okay. And he's like, yeah, no, he just did like a really big solid for a friend. He just rescued him from an imprudent marriage. And
oh,
she's like, oh, who was that? And he was like, oh, it's his best friend, Mr. Bingley. And Lizzie is like, wow,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
She's like, what was the reason? Like, because they weren't like rich. And he's said the family was like unsuitable. And so Lizzie is like, oh, wow. So we're talking about my family.
Hmm.
Huh.
Hmm.
So Lizzie like runs away. It's raining outside, obviously, because it has to be for emotional reasons, for the drama.
Right,
So she
exactly.
runs away to this little like gazebo, and Darcy goes after her. And it's like they're both like all wet and they're under this gazebo, and it's like, oh, very heightened. And
Yeah.
he basically says, obviously there are a lot of lines, but he basically is like, listen, you I have all these feelings and it's killing me, and like you're poor. So, but against my better judgment, I love you and I want to marry you. And she's like, what? What?
Really?
That's how you asked me to marry you? And she's
Yeah.
like, well, no.
You
First of all,
just
because
dissed
of,
my family.
right, all of that. And mostly because you ruined my sister's happiness. And she's like, you don't deny that, do you? And he's like, well, I didn't think she liked Mr. Bingley. And she's like,
Yeah.
she's shy.
He, he- and but yeah, he said he goes he thought Bingley was more in love with Jane than Jane was with Bingley, and he was worried about that.
Yeah. Which, like, I do think is, like, fair for
Yeah, if he
a
was his
friend.
best friend, yeah,
Hmm.
he said she was indifferent. He thought she was, yeah,
Yeah.
because I wrote that down, indifferent.
Yes. And then I do like love like I thought her indifferent. And he's also like, your family is a mess, except for you and Jane. Like literally all even sometimes your dad.
Yeah.
I think the dad is mostly a mess because he just doesn't want to be there at those things.
Oh, I
And
know.
then
Yes.
yeah, and then she asked him about the stuff with Mr. Wickham. And he's like, "Oh, Mr. Wickham, and me, you love Mr. Wickham." He's just sarcastic about it. So she's like, she thinks he's like a real ass.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You want me to like pretend that like your family is doing well? Because they're not." And she's like, "You are so arrogant, and you are the last man I on earth I could ever be prevailed upon to marry." There's some good like mouth acting in this too,
Oh
because she like
yeah.
doesn't really move her teeth. She's kind of gritted teeth and just moving like her lips the whole time. You're the
Yes.
last man on earth I could ever be prevailed upon to marry. It's good.
But
If you haven't
by the
seen
way,
this
for our
scene,
listeners, but Lindsay did a really good job there, by the
thank
way.
you.
So
And then to his credit, he's like, "Okay, sorry for wasting your time then." And
yeah,
he
just
goes,
he
which is like,
vanishes like the wind.
men take the is this example. See, Mr. Collins couldn't take a hint. Mr. Darcy is like, "All right, cool.
I'm out.
I'll leave you alone."
Yeah, that's what you want. You got it.
Yes. Before she leaves, before he leaves, he does leave her a letter so
Yes.
that she can know what's going on. And he like sneaks in real quick, like a little ghost. Although that was another one that I was like, is this like symbolic? But then you see him riding away on a horse. So I was
Yeah.
like, he really just like snuck in when she was like in a daze. So he leaves this letter and we hear his narration. Basically, he's clearing up two things. The stuff about like Jane, which is again just that he thought that she really didn't like Bingley.
Yeah.
Two, the Wickham thing. Basically, the story is Mr. Wickham lied to her, essentially. He got the inheritance that he was promised, but he wanted money instead of like the little
The
house.
little yeah, he didn't want to go into priesthood or whatever.
Right. So he got the money and then he gambled it all away and then he wanted more money. And Darcy was like, well, no. So
Yeah.
then what he tried to do is get with Darcy's sister. He tried to like take her and elope with her so that he would have access to her inheritance. And he like broke her heart, basically,
Yeah.
at age 15. And you can tell, like, going home, Lizzie is kind of just like heartbroken by this because
Hmm.
it's a lot. That's like a lot to take in,
Yeah.
right? So, like, she just learned that Darcy, like, fully messed up the Jane Mr. Bingley situation, but also he did it kind of with like not bad motives. Also, she learned that like this guy she was kind of into lied to her to poison her against Mr. Darcy. So then she's like, is Mr. Darcy this like horrible guy that I thought he was?
Right. Or is or am I mistaken?
Right, right. Like, because, she's like, she's at a point, I think this happens to people. Like, you find out
Sure.
new information and then you're like questioning your own judgment, right? Because you're like, I believe Mr. Wickham. Of course
Yeah.
I believe Mr. Wickham because I thought Mr. Darcy was an a-hole. But now it's like the the tables have turned
Right. And
a bit.
there's other people saying, no, Darcy's not a bad guy.
Yeah.
He's just, you got to get to know him.
Right, right. So she's back home, and so is Jane. Jane's back home from London, and Lizzie does not tell her the truth. Jane's like, "Oh, I didn't see Mr. Bingley, and that's fine because I am over him."
Right.
And then Lydia is invited to go with like their family friends, I guess, to go to Brighton, which is on the coast. And well, like first of all, Kitty is jealous 'cause she didn't get invited. She's like
Right.
crying. And Lizzie is like, "Don't let her go." She goes to the father and is like, "Don't let her go. Like, this is a bad idea." Because it's like, that's where all the troops are.
Right.
So she's just gonna like be a mess. And he's like, the dad is basically like, listen, I think she needs to go learn her lessons. First of all, we can have a break from her. He says this in obviously the parlance of the time, but he's like, give us a break
Yep.
from her. We can have some peace.
She's a bit much.
And also because he was like, if we don't let her go, we'll never hear the end of it. So like, just let her go.
Yep.
And when she needs to like get out in the world and like learn some things that she's like, everything's not all about her. He said she needs to learn her insignificance, basically. I think is like the exact words that he says.
Exactly. Yeah.
So she's like, you can't just like go along with stuff for peace. And he's like, I surely can.
Yes, I can.
How do you think I get by here?
Right. What do you think I've been doing with your mother all these years?
Right. So Lydia, the youngest, that's Jenna Malone, she is off
Right.
to Brighton. And then Lizzie is invited by the aunt and uncle to go to the country. And they're like, just this will be a good idea. Just get out, see some things.
Mhm.
As she's going, she does before she goes, she does tell Dane that she saw Darcy in Kent, but she still doesn't tell her anything about the Bingley situation.
Bingley's. Yeah.
And then this is when we get beautiful shots when they're
Oh
going in the
gosh.
countryside. There's a shot of Keira Knightley like standing on cliffs, and
Mm.
it's like far away, and her like cloak and like her dress are just blowing in the wind as she stands like perfectly still. It's just like beautiful.
It is. Yeah. It's like a painting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a really great visual. The cinematography is just
Yeah.
so well done, but also the way it was, laid out and everything.
Yeah. I
So.
will also say no offense to Jane Austen, but like I prefer this than her descriptions of riding in a carriage to the countryside. Speaking of riding in a carriage to the countryside, sometimes what happens is that your carriage breaks down. And theirs happens to break down close to a place called Pemberley. And Lizzie is like, what?
Mhm.
Because her aunt and uncle are like, oh, we should go to Pemberley. It's supposed to be beautiful. And Lizzie's like, no, we can't do that. Mr. Darcy, he's like a jerk. And they're like, what's the deal? And she's like, he's like so rich. And they're like, okay, that sounds like a good reason to go.
Because don't they say it's open to visitors or
Yeah.
something?
You can
Yeah,
like go get a tour. And
yeah.
so they go and it's like ginormous and gorgeous and like full of beautiful marble sculptures, including like a bust of Darcy that Lizzie is just like staring at. And like her aunt is like, "Oh, does it look like him?"
Oh,
And
I
the
know.
the
Yeah,
lady giving
is
the
it a
tour is
good
like,
likeness?
"Yeah." The lady giving the tour is like, "He is really handsome, isn't he?" And she's like, "Yeah."
Yes. The statues are great. Yeah, yeah, and the house was like, it's like, damn, I thought, maybe it was something the King of England left him or
Right. It
something,
looks like a museum.
I know it is great. I don't know where they filmed it at, but boy, that's a hell of a house. So,
Yeah, it's beautiful. And then, of course, Mr. Darcy arrives home. So his sister, Georgiana, was there playing her little piano. And then he suddenly arrives. And Lizzie is like, oh God. And she takes off running. Now she's the awkward one.
uh-huh.
But then he talks to her aunt and uncle and invites them all to dinner. So she's like, God dang it. And he wants her to meet his sister. His sister, Georgiana Darcy, who is played by Tamsin Merchant,
That's a
who,
name, isn't it? Tamsin?
yeah. She was in, I think it must be a British name because I've heard other people like on Graham Norton
Okay.
named Tamsin. But she was in the movie Jane Eyre. She was on the TV show The Tudors that used to come on Showtime.
Oh, I remember
She
that.
was one of the wives, I believe. And
Okay.
then she was on the TV show Salem and also did some episodes of Supergirl. This was her first film too.
Okay.
Um, but she's like pumped to see Lizzie. She's like, "Oh my God, I've heard so much about you. My brother keeps saying all this nice stuff about you." And Lizzie's like, "Huh, has he been?"
Yeah.
Like she even is like, "Oh my God, will you play piano with me?" And she's like, "Oh my God, your brother should know that I'm like really bad at piano." She was like, "Oh, she told me he told me you were really good." And I was like, and then Lizzie's like, well, then he was lying because I'm not." But it's very clear that he is fond of her and is expressing that fondness to his sister.
Yes.
Which I think this is also like a thing too, right? That you like meet someone and they're like, "Oh, I've heard so much about you, all these good things," and you're like, "Oh,
Oh,
you've been talking about me to your sister,
and you
huh?"
really like me.
Mm. Then things take a turn because Lizzie gets a letter from Jane that Lydia has run away with Mr. Wickham, and Lizzie's like devastated because they don't know. She's like, she has no money. She has like, they don't know where she went. They like, she's like,
Right.
I might not ever see my sister again. Like, she
Yeah.
might just be gone.
Because it just says she ran away with him. It doesn't say that they got married or
Right.
yeah. So
Like, she's been kidnapped basically. And they leave quickly because like her dad went to London to go try to find him. And the uncle, we need to go so I can go help your dad try to find her before she ruins the family too. Because that's the other thing.
right is
There's
that
obviously her safety, but like if she's run around with a man, it's creates a bad reputation and no one will want to marry the other girls.
and other girls, but and also Darcy though sort of takes responsibility. He says,
Yes.
if I'd said something about Mister Wickham earlier or whatever, maybe you all would know his character more.
Yeah. And Lizzie's like, no, I was the one who sort of like fell for it,
And yeah.
basically. So, you didn't do anything wrong. But to be fair, he was very vague at
Well,
the
yeah, he
beginning.
he
So
could have come
like,
out and said no, he's lying, and this is what really happened. But
yeah.
I guess being a gentleman.
Yes. Yes. So, anyways, the uncle does end up finding her and she's gonna marry Mr. Wickham, and the family only has to pay £100 per year, which is like a bargain. So dad is like, your uncle must have paid a lot of money.
Right
We learn later,
up
someone
front.
someone paid a lot of money. The down payment.
Yeah,
The yearly payment
yeah,
is really low, so the down payment must have been big.
big.
And we do learn later, someone paid a lot of money,
Right.
not the uncle. And the dad is kind of like, I don't know if she was worth all that.
Yeah.
Mr. Bennett.
Well, a dad knows his daughters, so
That's true. That's true.
just
And
saying.
suddenly, the mom, who was like devastated, is suddenly like, oh my God, this is the best news ever.
She's going to be married, and he's a soldier, and he's going to be. He's taking a commission because we find out.
Yes.
That. By
That
the
was
way,
also paid for.
exactly. Yeah, that's how you got those back in those days. Yeah, you didn't.
Hmm.
You didn't get promoted because you were a good soldier. You got promoted because you had money.
Yeah. Lydia and Wickham come to the house and she's like acting like this was like a perfect like beautiful nuptial situation.
Oh,
Like
I
like she
know.
didn't totally mess up and get bailed out.
Right. Yeah. That
She's
it
acting
wasn't
like, "Oh my God, I've been showing off my somebody else rode by in a carriage, so I just put my hand on the side of my carriage so she could see the ring."
ring.
Oh my God, girl, you almost like ruined your life and your whole family. And
Right.
she's like,
Yeah. You're
"And
lucky you're
everything's
not.
good." She got
You're not.
bailed out and like everything's fine.
Yeah. You're lucky you're not knocked up somewhere. So.
Yes. I will also just say I didn't say Mr. Wickham is played by the actor Rupert Friend, who has been on Homeland. He was on the show Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was in The Death of Stalin, The Young Victoria, The Libertine, Asteroid City. So some of the more recent Wes Anderson movies. So
Oh, okay.
he's been in a lot of stuff too.
He looked
Um,
familiar, but I couldn't really
yeah.
place him.
He was the High Inquisitor in Obi-Wan Kenobi. So
In
like the
what?
big the on the Obi-Wan Kenobi show,
Oh, okay.
he was like the big bad guy that like
Oh, okay.
interrogated
Gotcha.
people.
Yeah. Notice had a
Um
lot of these. actors are playing bad guys. You ever know,
I feel like British people,
yeah, they make good
they're
bad
the
guys.
villains of the world.
Hmm.
That British Empire, man, we haven't no one's forgiven them.
You can't be a villain unless you speak in a very British accent.
Hmm. Yeah. And you can tell like the vibe, like Lizzie is, as I wrote in my notes, paying Wickham dust. Like she's like, I'm not gonna look at
Oh,
you. I'm not
oh
gonna.
yeah,
He's trying to
oh
like talk to her. She's like, I'm not.
yeah,
And the
yeah,
dad is like Wickham's talking to him, and the dad's like, okay. He's like, oh, we're
yeah,
gonna be in the north. It's really nice there. And he's like, cool.
yeah.
All
Whatever.
right.
Yeah,
Sounds
you
fun. Like,
absconded with my daughter. Now I got to pay you £100 a year.
yeah. And then so they have dinner and then they're leaving and the mom is crying. You could tell who the dad's favorites are and who the mom's favorites are.
Oh yeah,
Mom loves the youngest because they're into the same stuff as her. Because she cries. She's like, oh my God, my children are leaving. And it's like, you have four other daughters.
who are still here, by the
Right.
way.
Like standing next to you.
Yes.
Then I love this scene. So Mrs. Bennet and like Jane and Lizzie and Mary are in town
Hmm.
going shopping.
Yeah.
I forget what she was buying. She was complaining about buying something for Mr. Bennett. Like she's like, he always needs this stuff.
What was
Um,
it? Was
I
it
forget.
tobacco? It was
No, but you know
some.
what I'm talking about. She was complaining about buying
Yeah,
something for
yeah.
him.
That he always. Yeah, I forget now what it was. I don't
Yeah.
know.
But then another man from the town is like, oh, I come with news. Mr. Bingley is returning to Netherfield. And I love Mrs. Bennet. She's like, oh, well, why would you think that we want to know that? Why do you think that
Mm.
we care? When is he going to be back? Oh, he'll be back soon and he's coming without his sister. And she's like, oh, I mean, I don't know who told you that, like, you should tell us that news, but how long is he staying here for? Oh, well, interesting. Who cares? Like, whatever. But she's clearly like, oh, she's plotting.
Yeah, spot on, by the way. So yeah, very well
But
done.
that was the vibe. But again, I think that's like such a relatable like sentiment. You know what I mean? Like, and then Jane, like Lizzie turns to Jane, and Jane's like, "Don't worry
Yeah.
about me. I'm fine.
Yep.
Everything's fine."
Yep.
Which is again, this is like how like if a sister got like dumped by someone, her sister would all like it would be the same
It
conversations
would
like right
be
now.
even today. So
Yeah, you know what I mean?
okay.
Like if
Yeah.
one of my best friends got like dumped by someone, and then I found out that that person was like coming
Hmm.
back,
You'd
like
be worried
I'd
about
be
them,
like
right?
looking at them, and they would be like, "I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Stop."
And you'd be going, I know you know
Mm,
you're not going to be fine. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah.
And one of our other friends, probably not our mom, but one of our other friends would be like, "Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Why are they coming back? Not that I
Yeah.
care,
Yeah.
but
But and how long will they be here? So hmm,
interesting. Hmm."
yeah. Wonder where they will be when they come back.
So, and then the women are all at home, and Mr. Bingley and Mr. Darcy are like riding up to their house, and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm coming!" And it's funny because they're like, "Act
This is a
natural,"
great scene.
but they're like, and again, this is like something you would see on a sitcom now, right? They're kind of like, "Okay, act natural, whatever," but they're like frantically cleaning and like throwing stuff away, and then by the time they get in, they're like sitting poised with like a book or embroidery, and like composed very beautifully, like
It
all
it
in different like
it
spots in the room.
it's like a family photograph. It's
It
like,
is.
yeah, it's like you would do your Christmas card. Here's,
Mhm.
because Jane is reading a book, I think, and Lizzie's reading a newspaper or vice versa or something, and they're all sitting in their little chairs or seats or whatever.
Mhm.
And then, here are the two guys. And then I'll let you describe it
And
because
then
this
Mr.
part's
Bingley is
funny.
so awkward. He's like, "Oh, hello. It's so good to see you. How are you?" And then he's kind of like, okay, well, good to see you. We're gonna go."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Okay." And then you see him. I love that they added this scene because obviously this was like not in the book, but like they're over by the little pond. And Mr. Bingley's like, "Well, I was supposed to walk in and she was going to say, sit down. And then I was going to say this." And Mr. Darcy's like, "Okay, like like basically he's like, I'm Jane, like you're you." Like and he's like, "Hello, I need to talk to Miss Bennet." And Mr. Darcy's like, "Okay." And he's like they're rehearsing it. He's like pacing. It's so funny. Meanwhile, inside, Lizzie is talking to Jane, and Jane's like, I'm so sorry that Mr. Darcy was here. And
Yeah.
she's starting to confess to her, like, actually, I was wrong about him. But then Mr. Bingley is back, and he's like, it's
Oh yeah,
another, may I
it's
talk to Miss Bennet alone? No specifying, but they're all like, okay. And the mom's like, go to the kitchen, go to the kitchen,
yeah.
everybody.
Everybody out, 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 out.
And then she's like, doesn't Jane look, I think she said that the first time. Maybe she's like, doesn't
Yeah.
Jane look so healthy and beautiful? Isn't Jane looking well?
Well,
This is another beautiful shot, I think, because you have Mr. Bingley and Jane on like opposite sides of the room, and they're like, we see them like from side profile, but like framed, like Jane's in front of a window, and like it truly looks like a painting. And then Mr. Bingley is in front of like sort of like wainscoting on the wall.
yeah.
And it's just like the way that they're framed, and it just like kind of cuts between the two of them. And then he's like, I've been such an ass. And he gets down on one knee, and then it cuts to the rest of the family who are in the hallway, like listening.
At the door, like
Although,
they always are.
of course, although Lizzie's sort of like wistful. She's like kind of
Yeah,
her
yeah.
head's elsewhere. And even the dad kind of wanders up like, "Oh, what's
Yeah,
going on here?"
what's going on? Yeah,
And
it's
they're like,
like
"Shh, be quiet." And then Jane says yes, and they all burst in.
I do like Rosamund Pike's reaction to saying yes when you
Yes.
could it just came across as so sincere,
Yes, it's like she's had all these feelings because she's like teared up and she's like,
Yeah,
yes,
and she's
yes, like 1,000
giggly
times
and
yes. And she's so
yeah,
happy. And then it's nice, like the rest of it, like at bedtime, you kind of see everybody like doing their thing a little bit, right? Like Mr. and Mrs. Bennet are talking, and she's like, I think Mrs. Bennet says, I knew she had to be pretty for a reason, or something like that. Because she's talking about how rich he is.
yeah.
And Mr. Bennet's like, yeah, and like also seems like a cool dude. And she's like, I knew she was pretty for a reason. You see like Mary and Kitty, and then Lizzie and Jane are like sort of giggling and like reveling in
Yeah.
Jane being happy. And it is nice too that Jane finally is like, Caroline sucks, man. She's so
Yeah.
rude.
Yeah.
And Lizzie's like, wow, that's like the meanest thing I've ever heard you say about
Say
someone.
yeah.
Um, and then somebody is banging on their door
In the
at
middle of the
an
night.
ungodly hour, and it's Lady Catherine de Bourgh. Which, like, first of all, you don't have like a servant.
I
You
know.
rode all the way here from Kent. I
Well, I
mean,
guess she
presumably
can't.
she was like in the neighborhood. Maybe she
And
was in London.
I don't know, but who knows? But yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, yeah, she's all of a sudden she's got the household in an uproar.
Right. So she busts in and she wants to talk to Lizzie alone. And Lizzie's like, okay. And
Whatever.
she has heard a rumor that Lizzie and Mr. Darcy are going to get engaged. And Lizzie is, I do love her. She's like not confirming or denying for quite a while. She's like,
Mhm.
oh, well, that's a rumor. And she's like, I don't think my nephew should marry you. And she was like, well, then you shouldn't be worried about it then, huh? Like,
Right? Yeah.
she's like, my nephew would never marry someone like you. And she was like, okay, then why are you concerned?
Yeah. Why
What's
are
the
you
concern
here?
then? What are you doing? And Lady Catherine says that Darcy is engaged to her daughter and has been since they were babies. And she finally is like, are you engaged to him? And Lizzie is like, no. And she was like, will you promise to never get engaged to him? And Lizzie is like, no,
No.
I will not do such a thing. And also, get out of my house.
Yeah.
You came in here being rude as hell. Get out of my house. And she's like, and Lady Catherine is like, I've never been treated like this. What? You're so rude. You
Well,
just came in and insulted them.
somebody that's got money, I guess they don't, nobody has the guts to stand up to him until
Yeah,
Lizzie
she's used to
comes
people
along.
being deferential, I guess.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
um,
And then another beautiful
oh,
scene. Gorgeous, beautiful. So Lizzie is out in the early dawn walking, like the fog is still like rising off the fields and stuff. And then who should emerge from the distant fog but Mr. Darcy with the open coat and the unbuttoned shirt,
yeah,
just trudging
no
across.
cravat, no,
Yeah,
not all
just showing neck.
neck. Yeah, yeah, baby,
Scandalous.
skin, showing skin.
and just like trudging across the field. And he apologizes for his aunt being rude and showing up at their house in the middle of the night. And she's like, "You don't have to apologize to me for anything. You like saved two of my sisters." Because she
Right.
knows now that Mr. Darcy is the one who paid like the dowry basically for Wickham to marry Lydia, and he paid for his commission to kind of also, they're going to Newcastle, which is all the way in the north of England.
Right.
So clearly he's like, y'all stay away. You stay
Right.
away.
I'm going to put you far away, but I'm going to go ahead and, and then as an officer, then he'll make more money and then he won't have to worry about,
Hmm.
hopefully gambling it all away, but
Yeah.
least he got him started. So,
Yes. And so Mr. Darcy is like, well, I kind of heard what you said to my aunt, which makes me a little bit hopeful.
yeah.
And I still, my feelings that I expressed to you before are still the same. They have not changed. But, and I love this line once again, one word from you will silence me forever. But, so like if you still feel the same and you're like, nope, then I'm gone. I'm leaving you
Yep.
alone forever. But if your feelings have changed, I want you to know you have bewitched me, body and soul, and I love you. And she like kisses his hand and then they kiss, and it's like, ah, it happened. We've been building to this moment. And then they go in the house to get her father's permission. And I love this is such a good scene.
Yeah.
First of all, the dad is like, Lizzie, come in and shut the door. So she has to like shut him out. But it is very cute because like the whole time she shuts the door very like slowly and she's
Yeah.
just like smiling at him the whole time. And the dad is basically like, so my only concern is that I thought you hated him.
Yeah.
Like I have no gripes. Like I thought he was kind of rude, but like if you tell me he's nice, okay. But like you hated him.
Yeah.
And now you're telling me you want to marry him. Like make that make sense for me. And she's like, I was so wrong about him. She tells him about all the stuff that he did to help, like that he brought Bingley back and like he was the one who intervened to help with Lydia and Mr. Wickham, and like actually like Mr. Wickham was the one who was a bad guy, and which like the
Mhm.
dad I'm sure gets by now, but also like why did he run away with like he should have he should have picked someone richer to run away with, but I guess it worked out. Okay. But anyways, so like she explains to her dad like, "Okay, I did hate him, but actually I was wrong, and like here's why." He's like basically, "Of course you have my permission." And it's like beautiful and he's like tearing, and again, as I said, it's obvious who mom and dad's favorites are, and dad's favorite is Elizabeth.
Lizzie. Yeah.
Maybe like Jane and Mary are there too. Like he likes the older girls and mom likes the younger girls. Um but he like lets her go, but he's like and then she leaves and is all happy and he's just sitting there like smiling but with tears in his eyes. And he says something like, if there's a guy out there for Mary or Kitty, like send him in. Like
Yeah, because
he's
I'm
again
in a
like,
good mood.
right, he's like sort of laughing but still sort of teary, and it is such this like bittersweet thing of like, I'm so happy that like my daughters are finding love, like particularly like Jane and Lizzie, because like
Lizzie.
Lydia, that
Yeah.
was a whole separate thing. She's just dumb and he's like, well, whatever. um for those two, he's like, they found like love, and he's happy for them, and but that means that like he's losing them
Yeah.
to some
Yeah.
extent. I mean, if Jane goes to live at Netherfield, she's like down the street, but Lizzie's gonna go.
To
Pemberley's not
Pemberley.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because I think if they're in like Hertfordshire, I think that's like close to London, and Derbyshire's like northwest of there.
Oh, okay.
So it's not that close. So yeah, he's like
Not
losing her
within
basically.
not within walking distance anyway.
Correct. It's a because like you could see they were her and to get to Pemberley, they were on a journey.
Oh
They were
yeah.
out there on cliffs and stuff.
Yeah. And
Um,
a carriage broke down
yeah,
and
yeah. So then the last scene is Lizzie and Mr. Darcy. I guess they're at Netherfield because I don't think they could have gotten to Pemberley that quickly.
well, I get the feeling though they're already married.
I
So I
guess
got the
so.
feeling
So
that
maybe they are.
some time has
Because
gone
they're
by.
like
Cause
they maybe they are at Pemberley because they're like sitting in like a fountain.
I
They're
know
sitting on
it
a platform in a fountain.
because it shows it from the outside, and I thought
Hmm.
it looked like Pemberley. Like
Yeah, that could be it.
and that they're already married because
Yeah, but they're just like outside in like their casual clothes. Like she's wearing like what appears to be just like a
I
casual
thought
dress with his coat on,
I
and
thought it was a
he's
nightgown.
it could be, and he's in like he's barefoot with some little
Yeah, with like a
pants and like a flowy shirt. So maybe this is like pajamas. They're just like sort of being flirty, right? Like he calls her darling and she's like, "Don't call me darling. My dad only calls my mom darling when he's mad at her." And he's
yeah.
like, "Well, then what can I call you when I'm mad at you?" And he's like, "Mrs. Darcy." And she's like, "You can only call me Mrs. Darcy when you're like incandescently happy." And it's just like and then he's like, "Okay, Mrs. Darcy."
Yeah, and that's what he calls her like several times over.
Yeah,
It's very sweet, very romantic. Uh
it is. It is. It's a lovely end to a lovely movie.
it really is, and I'll say for those of you who haven't seen the movie or you look at it and you because Lindsay and I talked this about this briefly about length of movies. Yeah, it's over 2 hours long, but I will tell you it doesn't feel like 2 hours long.
Hmm.
At least it didn't to me. Did it to you?
No, no, not at
It
all.
doesn't it doesn't drag. The pace is I wrote down the pace is measured,
Hmm.
but there's no slow spots. It lets you have time to take in what all's going on because there's a lot between the dialogue and the interaction between the characters and so on. So I feel that it gives you that time to sort of absorb and to observe that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I think that like they have a really nice like slow burn of the two
Yeah,
of them. And I think because I think it doesn't feel like I think when there's like a sort of like enemies to lovers thing, there's always this concern that like you should not date someone who's a total jerk to you, right? But it's also like it was so much like misunderstanding. And also the reason why it's called Pride and Prejudice is that she's the pride and he's the prejudice, right?
prejudice.
She's very stubborn
Right.
and has her beliefs and is like not willing to compromise until she is. And he's very prejudiced and is not looking down on people and is not really willing to compromise until he is. So the
Yeah.
idea is that they're both kind of a little bit entrenched.
Mm-hmm.
Like she can't consider the possibility that he's like not a bad guy
Right.
until finally like she gets that letter and then he rescues Lydia and then she's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
maybe he doesn't have like horrible intentions." And certainly like he was very snooty and she's like, "You can't like talk about my family like that."
Yeah.
But then he like swoops in to help them. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, he sort of literally puts his money where his mouth is, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. So and goes against the wishes of his aunt,
Mhm.
which maybe because you saw how Collins kowtowed to her, it's like,
Mhm.
but he didn't have any qualms about doing that. Darcy, she may have been his aunt, she may have been very powerful and very wealthy, but she didn't lead his life for him. He made his own
Yeah.
decision. So,
Right, right. He's like, "Girl, I'm rich without you. Mind your business, Aunt Catherine."
but now we got to wonder what happened to Lady Catherine's daughter. Did she, end up being destitute and then, or went to an insane asylum, or
I'm sure she could find somebody else to marry
I
her. They're
don't know.
rich.
I kind of worry about, some of the cast offs here, like,
Yeah.
so,
I'm sure that they could pluck somebody. Colonel Fitzwilliam, he didn't have a wife, but get
no,
him. He seemed
good
like a
point.
nice guy.
He did seem like a nice guy, and he had a career, he had a
Hmm.
job. So
He
yeah,
was a colonel.
yeah. So I'm sure that pays pretty good. So
Yeah, and I'm sure people were, if she was like, "Hey, who wants to marry my rich, sick daughter?"
right, yeah.
I'm sure the men would be lining up.
Who's going to inherit my fortune because I'm probably 55 and I'm ready to go. So,
Hmm.
but
Exactly.
but yeah,
Exactly.
thanks for the recommendation and especially this version of it. So
Yeah, I thought It's just really beautiful. I think it's like it has a lot of like comedy in it, like without being
Oh
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
comedy, right? Like just like sort of the in the real interactions with people. I think I like love like every time Lizzie is in a little tete-a-tete with someone, and it's just like the dialogue is just like boom, 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 boom.
Oh yeah, it's very quick, very snappy, very
She's so
you know.
clever.
Oh yes, yes. Uh, rapier like wit, as
Yes. My brain was going, I was gonna say clever girl.
uh,
But yeah, so I think for me, it's just like such a great example of an adaptation of classic literature. I love like the sort of rom-com genre
hmm.
in terms of like books and movies. And I think that this book is like a foundational text for that.
Oh sure.
Like Jane Austen generally, I think is foundational to these things. And I think that this is just a really beautiful adaptation that sort of brings things to like a modern feeling place
Hmm.
without sacrificing like being true to the source material. I think it's like a really good balance. It's beautiful to
It
look at.
is. It's stunning to. It is. It's
Truly like if
stunning to
you put it
watch.
on mute, it's like still like enjoyable. like
Exactly. Yeah. It, yeah. It's terrific. Yeah. To just to look at just visually. So,
yeah.
but
It's like a ton of really talented people in it all operating really well. And again, some of them this is like sort of at the beginning of their career and they've gone to great heights like Matthew McFadden and Rosamund Pike and Carey Mulligan.
yeah.
And then some people that were, Keira Knightley, she was the reason why some of those people were able to get cast because they had like a big name at the time.
Right.
She was the first Pirates of the Caribbean had just come out. So she was like
Oh yeah. Box office.
yeah, like a
Yeah.
marquee star. And so that
Mm,
allowed people like Matthew McFadden, who was relatively unknown, and like Rosamund Pike and Carey Mulligan, like those people to get cast because they had the studio allowed it because they had kind of some star power at the
mhm.
top. So, and I think that's great. I think that I wish they like cast more movies like that.
I agree.
More like unknown people that can really like blossom into something cool because I think Matthew McFadden is such a good Mr. Darcy because he's so like standoffish, but like he plays like the awkwardness in a really believable way.
Agreed.
Um, but he's still like I think Joe Wright said like he wanted someone that was like kind of like a big guy, like not
Hmm.
like Mr. Bingley is like a smaller guy and like sort of
Yeah.
like puppy energy,
He's
like we
kind of
said.
slight looking. Yeah.
Mhm. And so having someone a little more imposing as Darcy, like who is more serious and like doesn't really know how to like navigate feelings. I think it does come across really well. I think that everyone kind of played their part beautifully. Like even like Mr. I would watch hours of just Mr. and Mrs. Bennett.
Oh gosh. Yeah. The
Just
interaction
Donald
between the
Sutherland
two
and
of
Brenda
those
Blethyn just interacting.
played off each other so well. Yeah.
yeah.
And one of the actors I recognize too, and I just remembered the lady that played her aunt. She was on Downton Abbey. She
Mm.
played the cousin or whatever of the of you know the that came into the family fortune, by circumstance because of the tragedy aboard the Titanic and stuff. So
Yes, she looked familiar. Yeah.
yeah, I can't remember her name, but she was played opposite. She was in the house, and then she was sort of the foil for Maggie Smith's character.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
they were friends. They became friends, but she was.
Was it Penelope Wilton, I think?
Yeah, that's her. Uh huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So another really enjoyable movie.
Mhm.
It. It may sound, I don't know, kind of one of the movies where I didn't take a lot of notes because I really was enjoying watching the movie.
Yeah.
So, where
Good.
so I wrote down, some things, but I just I got myself caught up into, really watching the movie and then seeing it play out. Maybe because I knew about the story, but I wasn't real familiar with all the particulars. So,
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
really enjoyed the performances. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad even it got your wife involved.
oh
Got
yeah,
got
so
her
yeah,
roped in.
she was like yeah, it was very, it was kind of funny, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think she's ever asked to watch any of the movies that, like, when I'm watching them, she'll not, but she was like, "Oh, can you run that back? Because I'd like to see the part, where we left off last night." So luckily I hadn't watched very much of it. So I said,
That's
"Sure." I
good.
said, and I had to catch her up a little bit. So, but,
That's great. That's great. Well, everyone, if you haven't watched this, it's on Netflix for a couple more days.
oh, is
I
it?
think till the
Okay.
end of May.
I watched it on Amazon, but I had it for free because of Amazon Prime. But it was
Okay.
only it's not on there all the time. It
Hmm.
was rental, but I didn't have to pay anything this time around. So,
Yeah. Well, definitely check it out. Also, Netflix is putting together, I believe, a mini series, another adaptation,
oh really?
coming up with Emma Corrin, who was also in Deadpool and Wolverine, and played young Princess Diana on The Crown as Elizabeth Bennet.
Oh, okay.
And God,
Who's
I
going to
keep
play Mr. Darcy?
I,
Is it anybody we know?
it's a guy from the show Slow Horses, Jack Loudon. Mostly, I know him because his girlfriend is Saoirse Ronan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
He couldn't get her in the series.
I guess not, but Emma Corrin is good too. And this is the selling point for you and me: Olivia Colman as Mrs. Bennet.
Oh, perfect.
She will be so good as Mrs. Bennet.
I wonder who Mr. Bennett's going to be.
I don't know. I think they've only announced like those few, but it's going to be a
Oh,
six
I'm
a
in
six
then.
part limited series.
I'm in with Olivia. So,
Olivia Colman is Mrs. Like you had me. You
oh,
had me at hello.
exactly. So, yeah, for those of you who don't already know, even after the last 30 seconds, we are huge Olivia Colman fans. Lindsay and I both are.
Yeah,
So,
she's so good. I would watch anything with her in it.
exactly. I'd watch her read the phone book. So,
Exactly. It would be so funny. It would
it
be
would. It would
hilarious
be. Yeah. So,
and like moving somehow.
I,
So yeah, stay tuned for that. I guess that's why
yeah,
they're kicking off this Pride and Prejudice to make room for theirs. But
not a
I
worry.
hope it will be good because Netflix can put together some good shows. So
Yeah, I might have to
um
pick up Netflix then for that. So,
yeah, yeah. So and everyone, if you haven't watched this, I encourage you to watch it. It's just a good movie. It's visually beautiful. Like I think the score is lovely. Good performances, good writing,
hmm,
just and a good story. A
it
good
is. Yeah,
story that
it's a
I
good love
think,
story
yeah,
and
yeah.
a classic. So,
Hmm. It's That's why these tropes show up again and again. And again, some of this stuff, even though like, we're not negotiating like dowries and stuff necessarily, like in the United States at least, the the interplay between people feels relatable in so
hmm,
many ways.
when you brought it up, I could I could see that after you talked about, like even now that it would be relatable about how people would react and stuff. And so,
Hmm. Yeah.
you know,
So everyone check it out. Please subscribe wherever you're listening to this so you can get all of our new episodes delivered to you when they come out on Mondays. Please leave a rating, review, comment. Hopefully it's nice or
we'll make you sit and listen to one of Mr. Collins' sermons.
yeah, slow torture.
Yes,
Um, Please also follow us on Instagram at Some of Our Parts Pod. You can see all the movies that we've talked about. There's quite a variety. You can get little previews of what's to come and whatever else we decide to share, including excellent art I've made in Microsoft Paint. Who knows what's to
yes,
come? My skills continue to develop.
exactly.
And with that, bye bye.
Take care.